personally, here's where I think they didn't do a very good job, and that was with Kelsey Mitchell, who's an unrestricted free agent, because Kelsey Mitchell had a hell of a season this season, and I don't think she got the credit that she deserved.
Do you remember when Sheryl Swoopes claimed to have insider knowledge about the Fever's locker room situation? Well, Kelsey Mitchell just proved that theory wrong with one simple decision. By re-signing with the Indiana Fever, she put an end to all the rumors Swoopes had been spreading.
What's up, everybody? Kelsey Mitchell here, and I'm a Fever girl again. So to my fans, to the basketball world, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be back. Indy's been good to me, and hopefully I could pour in and give the same. So here's to being a Fever girl.
Here's where things really heat up. Mitchell didn't just stop at signing. She's got some strong words that are sure to make Swoopes rethink her stance. Kelsey's not holding back as she defends Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and explains why she's proud to call the team her second home. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Things are about to get even more interesting. Stay tuned.
People in the Fever, we're like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
You know what's worse than a pot stirrer? A Hall of Famer doing it. Let's talk about Sheryl Swoopes and her inside info on the Fever. She's been spinning stories left and right, and it's time to set the record straight. Swoopes recently claimed on Gilbert Arenas' podcast that there's turmoil within the team and players are ready to leave. But here's the thing. The Fever just had their best season in years, so maybe it's time to reconsider that story.
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay.
But I'm talking about more social media.
Okay. It's a turn. Right? It's a turn, right? It's really a turn of the tides.
Gil, here's my point. The beginning of the year, right? Everybody.
You know what's worse than a pot stirrer? A so-called legend and Hall of Famer doing it. Let's talk about Sheryl Swoopes and her insider info on the Fever. She's been spinning stories faster than a basketball on her finger, and it's time to call her out. Picture this. Swoopes, perched on her high horse, drops a bomb on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, claiming there's a lot of drama going on with the Fever. According to her, players are eager to leave, saying, "This isn't where I want to be." Really, Sheryl? Because from where we stand, the Fever just had their best season in years.
WNBA MVPs in your career, would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
Man, I can't. Bro, Sheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is done.
You might think Swoopes has a point about the Fever's locker room. After all, she's Sheryl Swoopes, right? But here's the twist. Kelsey Mitchell, the player Swoopes claimed was being mistreated, just re-signed with the Fever. And while Swoopes was busy making assumptions, the Fever's actual management, including team president Amber Cox, was praising Mitchell and Clark.
Obviously, as we get into free agency, the number one priority for us is re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. I think that backcourt was about as lethal as we've seen in the WNBA, and I'm talking maybe in history in the second half of the season.
And then there's Stephanie White, who's been raving about Mitchell's importance to the team's future. So what's really going on here? Is Swoopes just out of touch, or is there something else at play? From where we're sitting, it seems like she's trying to stir up drama where there isn't any. And you know what? The Fever aren't having it.
We wouldn't be where we are today without Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, she's clearly a very foundational piece. She's got 7 years of being in and out of this building. She went through a lot.
Here's where it gets interesting. What did Kelsey Mitchell say that's putting Swoopes in her place? And why is she so happy to be back with the Fever? We're about to dive into that, but first, let's talk about sour grapes. Swoopes isn't exactly celebrating Caitlin Clark winning *** Athlete of the Year, which was a huge milestone for women's basketball.
That's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. It's pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
Instead of celebrating, Swoopes decided to play party pooper on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. She started questioning the award criteria like she's an investigative journalist. Is it really just about what you do on the court? She asks. Come on, Sheryl. We all know it's not just about points and assists. While Clark was an MVP candidate in the WNBA last year, it's about impact, influence, and pushing the sport forward. And Clark has done all of that and more, especially after her historic NCAA senior season at Iowa and her record-breaking freshman season at Indiana.
Put Asia Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
So that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
No, it's global.
else?
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
You want to know what real leadership?
But wait, it gets better. Swoopes then suggests that A'ja Wilson should have been nominated instead. Now, don't get me wrong, Wilson is incredible on the court, but this isn't about pitting one player against another. It's about recognizing a groundbreaking moment for women's basketball as a whole. Swoopes missed the bigger picture, and honestly, it's a little embarrassing.
Caitlin Clark deserved that award. What Caitlin Clark did, because so many eyeballs were on her, she is a huge multiplier effect.
If you want to see what real leadership looks like, just look at Amber Cox, the Indiana Fever's GM. When asked about Clark's *time* win, Cox didn't hesitate for a second. She called it a massive deal for women's basketball. No ifs, ands, or buts. Just pure, unfiltered support for a player who's changing the game.
People say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodie and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%. Of course, her jersey was number.
Kelsey Mitchell re-signed with the Indiana Fever. Well, wait a minute. No, that's not what Sheryl Swoopes said was going to happen. I mean, she was going to get out of a toxic situation, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. So let's take a look at this. Man, I got to tell you, Sheryl Swoopes is getting crushed. Yesterday, today, after Kelsey Mitchell agreed to re-sign.